we have people, ministers, usually, or sometimes groups, they come together and they provide the Centers for Spiritual Living, all the 500 groups that we talked about. They provide us with a topic and an outline if we want to use it, sometimes some quotes or stories. And so the month of January is the monthly theme is living everyday wonder, which Sherry's spoken about and Dietrich's spoken about, and it's really it's interesting to know that across the country, and actually in 29 countries, people are gathering, whether it's a Sunday or a Wednesday or however they're gathering, to discuss some of these things. And again, it's living everyday wonder this month. And today's topic was question everything. And when I heard that, I was like, ooh, that just makes my heart palpitate, question everything. I was like, I don't have time to question everything. I just don't have time. But it made me think about what we question, how we question, what questions are we asking? What is for our spiritual growth? What is keeping us? What questions keep us on that? What's the little wheel that the hamster wheel, where you just spin around and around and you're like, why am I still here? That's one of those questions, that keeps you on the wheel. What are we asking? Why are we asking them? And it's true that questions hold possibilities. When we ask the right questions, we potentially are opening up the idea of new possibilities. Because when we don't ask questions and we assume, or we are run by our old programming, we are many times stuck because we're doing the same thing we've always done, and we are going to get the same results that we've always gotten. And we're not breaking the cycle with some deep or interesting questions that will open up possibilities. So we know, and we talk about often, that spiritual living doesn't just happen on the meditation cushion or on Sunday mornings. Spiritual living is this way of life that happens every moment of every day. And some of you know that one of my themes, one of my just topics for many years has been living enlightened every day. And the emphasis is on the everyday. So it's walking the dog, or getting the snow off the car, or driving to the meeting, or picking up the kids from school, whatever it is, it's all spiritual living. So it's applying the spiritual tools and principles to every area of our lives every day. And the result of doing that is that life flows easier. We talked a lot about the conference. Actually, it just came up for me personally over and over again, the before and after. Why do we want the after? What is we're looking for is like the before and the after, the makeover. When we take a spiritual class or we do our morning meditation, what is the after? Life flows easier. Choices are clearer. Seeming miracles or what seems like chance events flow, and it's amazing. It amazes us that this happened, so that this happened, so that that happened. There is wonder in everyday life, just waiting for us to live it. So what's in a question? And someone said, the answer to the question is in the question itself. I never got that. I still don't get that, but I know possibilities are in the question. So if we are not asking any questions, we may be closed off to possibilities. But there is curiosity, which is that childlike feeling when you don't know something and you're eager or excited to maybe understand it a little more, clarity, that feeling of like, it's a feeling of oneness or wholeness. Knowledge can be gained when we ask questions. Desires, we find out, what is it I really want now, today? And how is what I want now different from what I wanted when I was 15 or 50, right? Wants, needs, which are different than desires. sometimes our wants and needs are very clear. I need to, to pay the rent this week, this month, whatever it is. That's a need. It's a necessity. We may be curious or ask questions for information. Questions open us up to possibilities, and sacred inquiry is where we're going to go today, or enlightened questions. And that is life-changing. Ernest Holmes teaches a philosophy that is and has always been open at the top. And what that means is as he was gathering knowledge from the Eastern traditions, the Western traditions, from Sufism, from Christian mysticism, from Kabbalah and Jewish mysticism, when he was gathering the perennial wisdom that we teach, he always said, this is not the answer. These are just the answers to the questions that I had. And this is what I have now. And he died, I forgot when, maybe in 62. I don't remember. We'll have to look that up. But meaning that he died knowing there were more questions and more answers. And that we are all responsible to ask our questions, to grow and to be open at the top, to evolve our personal understanding of spirit and law and living spiritually. One of our principles is we believe in the direct revelation of truth through each of our intuitive and spiritual nature, and that anyone and everyone will become a revealer of truth who lives in close contact with the indwelling spirit. And one way to be in close contact with this indwelling spirit is through asking questions. And sacred inquiry avails us to the infinite intelligence that allows that divine wisdom to guide us in everyday spiritual living. So questioning leads us to be open at the top. So question everything. The idea of questioning everything keeps us in that childlike wonder. On average, children ask between 70 and 100 questions a day. Anyone have children? Nieces, nephews, grandkids. Were you a child once? And my son's now 19, and man, sometimes you're just like, Google, and there's a commercial out now where the kid's asking questions and the dad's over there like, Google, what is the volcano? Oh, Mount Vesuvius, and like he knows it, but he doesn't know it. He's asking Google. We are in the information age. We can find out a lot of things that we would like to know about. But why is one of their questions. And it's such a tiny word, but it's a big question. And we are born, as we can look at our children and grandchildren and these wonderful commercials and realize that there is a stereotype for a reason. We are born with a natural curiosity. And when we're young, we have that desire to know more. But sometimes as we get older, we say, oh, I'm too busy. But in our spiritual practices, when we say, why is this? Why would Ernest Holmes say this? Why would Thich Nhat Hanh say this? why would Father Richard Rohr be saying this when it seems like it doesn't fit in with this, or this, or it doesn't fit in with what I knew in Catholicism? So you start your search, and it's exciting to come to an answer to why would he say that? Why is that a principle? Why would that work? Curiosity sparks creativity, and our willingness to ask questions allows our world, when you think about it, our world expands. It expands because our curiosity is pushing our mental capacities outward, our understanding of the world. It's interesting to note that adults ask an average of 20 questions a day, and most of them are closed questions or limited questions like, what's for dinner? What time is the meeting? Do you want to see a movie tonight? Those are not expanding us. Those are just practical questions. They're nothing that's going to get us curious, unless it's which movie. But to reignite our curiosity, we can just ask more questions more often, allow ourselves to expand the way we're thinking. And a good question, a good place to start is asking questions about our lives, the things in our lives that are getting us stuck, the things in our lives that we seem like that we're bored in, the things in our lives that we've gotten used to, that we used to maybe we loved, and now we've lost the spark. So we get to find ways to become more childlike, more curious, more interested, which makes us more interesting. So we don't have to passively accept all the things around us that we have attracted into our life thus far. We get to continue to create what is new and coming into our lives. We don't have to just say, this is how it is. We can say, why is this how it is? Why have I accepted this up until now? Asking new questions, we will find new answers, right? But here's the thing. In spiritual discernment, when we're asking questions, often we are seeking answers externally. Hey, Google, what is this? Or how did this happen? So it's okay to look outside and find out why the sky is blue and sunsets are red and orange and the ocean is gray over here and blue over there. Those are fun, interesting questions about our environment. But there is an infinite intelligence that is always available within us, and we can access it through this sacred inquiry of turning within and asking divine questions. We can experience that direct revelation of truth within us. And this week, I was reminded that many of us call it a download, a divine download, where if you ask a question, perhaps at night before you go to sleep, and for me, it's never when I wake up. It wakes me up at usually 3:30 or 4 in the morning, and it's like the answer. And I sleep with a journal next to my bed, because if I don't write down the answer, sometimes I have the vague memory that I got the answer, but I can't remember what it was. And it was so perfect. Like the wording was beautiful. So I take the time to just scribble it down, and I write down this answer. And then the answer usually is the beginning. It's just like, now I meditate on that, and more clarity, more revelation comes around that. So we center in oneness, and we anchor ourselves in that place, just like we did our opening prayer. It's very simple. It only takes a moment. And in spiritual discernment, we ask clarifying questions, seeking divine guidance. Like we can ask, What is mine to do in this situation? What is next for me? What direction should I go in? And we can list the two that we see, and we can, sometimes we have a decision to make, which job to take. We have two job offers. And sometimes in the case of what happened to me not that long ago, it was like, I didn't want either of them. So but I had to move. I needed a job. What do I do? What do I do? And the answer came. I chose the job that I thought was the answer. As soon as I told this person I was accepting the job, boom, I knew that's not the answer. Nope. I thought I would be happy. I thought I would be excited in telling this person that I accepted this job. And I wasn't happy. I wasn't excited, that childlike excitement. So I knew that I had chosen the wrong choice, but no harm, no foul. What did it matter a day later? I mean, he was a little upset, but I said, I'm so sorry. I've made the wrong choice. I can't accept this job. And then I felt that sense of relief. I felt that sense of excitement that I was choosing the other one. So we have to, listen to the responses in our body to the questions, because I got it wrong, but in a moment I knew it. And in a day's reflection, I reversed my choice, because for most of us, the choices we make are we get that feedback and we can choose again. You choose again. Are we asking enlightened questions? And one of the differences between an enlightened question and another is evident in the spiritual questioning, the sacred questioning. For example, after a failed relationship or after the loss of a job, one might ask themselves, and you may have asked yourself at one point, why does this always happen to me? Why do I always pick the crazy people? Okay, I might have asked that about myself at some point. Why is he such a jerk? Why, is that what I get for following my heart? We're asking questions from our ego. And what does that mean? It means that we can look and say, on whose behalf are these questions arising? And for me, it's that small, separated, hurt self. Why does this always happen to me? That's a question that comes up from my ego, from my small, separated, hurt self. And what's going to happen is my ego will answer that question because you're not smart enough, because you deserve it, because you always do this and this and this wrong. Right? That's not our spiritual infinite wisdom answering that question. That's a question that's coming from the ego, and it will be answered by the ego. Is it coming from our spiritual depth, our wholeness, our oneness, or from that sense of separation or small mind? The ego will tell you exactly why this is happening. You never listen. You're not good enough. You're not pretty enough. You're not smart enough. You're not young enough. You're not old enough. And the ego will find even more questions. This is that hamster wheel. Why can't I ever find the right guy? When will I ever learn? Ego wants to answer because you don't have the education, because the world is hard, because there's no good men left. Right? Because there's never enough money, whatever the answers are. And sometimes we can actually hear the voices of those who have planted those seeds in our head. That's the voice of my high school coach, the voice of my stepdad, the voice of my first boss, right? We know on some level that we shouldn't believe in this. But there they are. We've made this voice our own, and that is our past conditioning, that hamster wheel that we're on. And so sometimes those questions, those kinds of questions, not only don't help us on our spiritual growth, they don't help us learn, they don't help us heal, they don't allow us to step off the wheel. We keep ourselves from growing and unfolding in our enlightenment, and we find ourselves stuck in these strangely familiar patterns. But what if we ask the different questions? When the enlightened encounter a problem, they don't ask, why is this always happening to me? They simply ask, what can I do with this now? I mean, think about the difference in the response when we are quietly centered, asking, Spirit, this situation is stressful. This situation is compromising my health. What can I do? It's here. It's in front of me. It's right here. What can I do with this now? And we can either just simply ask that question and at night go to sleep, but we don't dwell on it. We don't insist that we get the answer. We're not listening for a physical voice in our head per se. We can go about our day, and as we're washing dishes in the sink, that divine download may come right then. It may come at 3:30 in the morning, and I'm sorry. There's nothing I can help you with that. It comes when it comes. Have the journal nearby, I will tell you that. But all of a sudden, we ask, what can I do with this now? And it's like, turn around. Might be the answer in the case when I chose the one job that didn't feel good. Turn around. Choose again. Whatever that answer is. Whatever that answer is. If there's an action that is possible or practical, the action, again, like choose again, will come from that spiritual direction, not from that wishy-washy state of, oh my God, I just don't know what to do. But I thought this one had more money, and but I had this. We stop the running around in the external world of affairs. We turn within. We listen to how our body is responding, how our emotional state of being is, and we discern from that space a beautiful truth that moves us into a new space. Now, with my job, it was actually staying in my old job that ended up being exactly where I was supposed to be. So what happened was, when I chose the new job, and then I realized I'm not feeling relief, I'm not feeling excitement, I'm not feeling joy, and I went back to my old job now in a place that I thought I wasn't happy. I wasn't, in a fuller expression of myself. And I had been in that real estate position for a while. It was like, now all of a sudden I have this renewed interest, this childlike wonder in the same old job I was in. I saw things with those new eyes. So even if it's the same decision, we will have that renewed childlike wonder because we're listening inwardly. We become present in our situation, and the situation now is our spiritual living opportunity. The enlightened ask, what can I learn from this when something has ended, when something has shifted? What does the universe need me to do with this? We can ask, what does my family, what does my being, my spiritual growth, what do I need to do with this? We can ask, have I learned? And when something seems to come back into our lives over and over again, remember I said, why does this always happen to me? Well, when we ask from the ego, we'll get those egoic answers. But when we ask, have I learned everything I can from this situation that seems to be recurring? Spirit, have I learned everything? What else is here for me so that I can step out of this, which is making me uncomfortable or stressed or anxiety ridden? How we ask spirit, and spirit, these questions arise on behalf of oneness, right? They arise on behalf of wholeness. And so the answers come from oneness and wholeness. When we add, so that I can experience my highest good, the highest good for me and all those concerned. We are asking from oneness and wholeness for myself and all those concerned. So spirit, rather than the ego or our limited self, our limited education, our limited knowledge, infinite intelligence, infinite wisdom will answer. The answer will come through us. We are the revealer of truth. So being in the moment without projections of the future or those past voices or experience or precedents, the past conditioning. When we step into that place, that silent, still moment, the God mind, the spirit, infinite intelligence provides insight and revelation that moves us forward in our spiritual growth and unfoldment. And I have to say, and I'm sure many of you have experienced that the shifts that happen become so easy. Something we thought was going to be so hard, maybe a move or a change of jobs, that we thought was going to be so hard on us, on our family, on our kids, whatever we thought it was going to be, all of a sudden becomes graceful, right? There's an ease and grace that we didn't imagine. So that's what we do. We imagine how our life would change by changing the quality of our questioning. So when we have a question like, what's for dinner? Well, that's a question coming up on behalf of our body. Our body's hungry, and that's perfectly fine. Questions come up, for our body. We have questions that come up on behalf of our separate self. And those are when we need to be discerning. And then we have questions that come up on behalf of our oneness and wholeness. They're moving us into our spiritual growth. So we can take a moment and discern our questioning, but not be afraid to question wherever we are. Boredom is a call to active questioning, right? If we're bored, it's like my curiosity has been deadened. My interest, my excitement has been deadened. Do I need to sit still, be present in the moment and allow the moment to live, and I don't need to change anything? Or am I being called to jump off the hamster wheel, the past conditioning that I've created? But allow yourself to ask that question, go to sleep, meditate, and allow those answers to come. So when we are inquisitive, life becomes this endless opportunity to learn and to grow. And like the reading that Sherry was reading about Toyota, it may be all about our creativity. We may be asked to create something new that we've never imagined before, but through visioning, we may be asked to really change a system in our life that has always worked, or something about our work, or changing our career, changing our retirement, whatever it is, but asking questions and resting, asking questions from wholeness and oneness, and resting, knowing the answer will come is the answer, because the answer will come. Albert Einstein famously said, is remembered as saying, "I have no special talent. I am only passionately curious." What are you curious about? And when we allow ourselves to be curious about living in wholeness and oneness, about living in that childlike state of wonder, we find wonder and excitement in the little things that we know we have to do, the laundry and the grocery shopping and whatever it is. We can ask questions, but ask enlightened questions by discerning on whose behalf does this question arise. You know, is it my physical being? Is it my mental emotional state? Is this question coming out of the anger? Am I just so angry? And I'm just like, how do I get rid of this person in my life? My boss is like the worst boss ever. How do I get him fired? Okay, that might not be your best question. That's coming from behalf of our separation, our hurt, our anger. But there is a question in there when we are that frustrated, when we are that angered. And that is, what can I learn from this situation? How can I find peace in this situation? Or maybe the question is, can I find peace? Or do I need to remove myself from this situation? So all of these kind of, sometimes they're big questions, like, do I need to change my job? Sometimes they're little questions, but all of them are moving us towards our wholeness and oneness. And when we do that purposefully with intention, what happens? We live our life with more, what's that word? Communion with whoever comes into our life. Because now when we're standing in our oneness and wholeness, we can see, again, that love, that peace, that joy, the wonder, the beauty, the creativity in the other people that are stepping into our lives. So we give ourselves the opportunity to live spiritual every day. We make a sacred inquiry and listen to this sacred answer. And it allows us to live in the question. So sometimes I make it sound like it's going to be, you ask a question at night and you get the answer at 3:30 in the morning. It may take days. But living in the open-ended question is kind of living in the world of infinite possibility. And we just haven't chosen one. We haven't collapsed the possibility, to speak in the world of quantum, in the terms of quantum physics. You know, it's unlimited, infinite potential. And we just allow the finite choice or information to come to us when it comes. So living in the question, we allow life to live the answer through us and guide us. And we seek first that kingdom of heaven, that centered state of oneness and wholeness, and allow the wonder of life to unfold to us and through us. And so one sacred affirmation this week can be, I ask sacred questions or enlightened questions, and the answers always come to me. The answers always come.